All right. It is 8/28, October 28th. All things work to the good of them that love God and are called according to His purpose, including busted top hydraulic pistons. That's the hydraulic pump down there. I'm going to replace that while I'm in here. That piston went bad across the way. This one was still good, but it was doing twice the work it needed to lift the top. Why do I want the top to work? Because we're supposed to be able to look up, because our redemption draws nigh. How nigh? Could be less than 60 days. Tabernacles. We know that the book of Zechariah says that they celebrate tabernacles for 1,000 years. I would say that's because that's when Jesus puts his foot on the Mount of Olives and rules and reigns for those 1,000 years, beginning at tabernacles. Subtract 7 years, you have the rapture at tabernacles to begin the tribulation. Mid-trib, not possible, because then the rapture would happen at a feast that is not tabernacles. It would be 6 months later or earlier. So tabernacles. We want to be able to look up. What happened last tabernacles? What happened the very first moments of the 8th day of tabernacles, the very beginning of Shemini Atzeret? What happened? Oh man, there was a massive attack on Israel. What do you think the odds of that are happening again are going to be? I think they're really good. And it would coincide with the catching away of the bride, of the wise virgins, because the Father will fulfill his feast. It's his will to fulfill his feast. So if we're asking for his will, he will not confound our languages as he did in Babylon. He will let us be the one people in one language praying to receive what we truly want, which is for him to fulfill his feast on the Feast of Tabernacles 2024, which would put the end of the generation at 2031, which would put the beginning of the generation at 1961. And just like John's birthday, the first forerunner of Christ, was the same year as Christ, I believe I'm that forerunner. And I was born in 1961. And that would make everything work out. Let's see if that's it. If I'm right, we want to be praising his name as one people in one language in the very first moments of the 22nd day of the 7th Hebrew month. That would be October 23rd at 5:58 p.m. Jerusalem time. Now you want to be praising before then, and you want to be praising through then, because we're not sure how close Google is to the true sunset. So when sunset happens, somewhere in that 5-minute window, we want to be praising as one people in one language, receiving what his will is to rapture the church in a mirror image of tabernacles on tabernacles. Exactly the way it was done for his Son at Passover and his Spirit at Pentecost, in mirror images and at the same time. Well, which calendar? It doesn't matter the calendar. The calendar that the Jews in Jerusalem were using, there were always people in Jerusalem at that time. Calendar means nothing. When the Jews celebrate tabernacles, go to the last day of tabernacles, and that sunset is what we're waiting for. His name. It's on the children. Ayah, Jerem-iah, Obad-iah, Zephan-iah. I've seen so many people talk to me or converse with me on their lives and stuff like that through text and whatnot. Well, it's got to be Hebrew. It's Hebrew. It's the Hebrew. Jesus didn't choose Hebrew for the New Testament. Ayah and Ayasu chose Greek. And it would be utterly ridiculous to think that Greek could not convey the proper pronunciation of their names, Ayah and Ayasu. Especially since Greek was being used by Jews writing the Septuagint. They wrote that name, Iota, Eta, Sigma, Omicron, Upsilon, Sigma, 200 years before Christ, using it for Joshua. So we know the Greek spelling. We know the Jews knew the Greek spelling. We know the Jews used the Greek spelling for an entire book in the Septuagint over and over and over and over. What do you think, they were wrong? You think they didn't know how to spell the name? There's a whole book in the Septuagint with that name. He chose Greek, not Hebrew, because the Hebrew scholars were in charge of the Hebrew language. And those Hebrew scholars that the book of Galatians tells us, don't go back. Paul was a Hebrew scholar. He said, don't go back to the law. Don't trust these people to tell you the truth. Jesus said they were of their father, the devil. Well, who is he going to replace them with? They replace them with like-minded individuals. We can't trust what they say the Hebrew pronunciations are. They're of their father, the devil. The problem is that the people following them are doing the devil's handiwork because they're repeating what the devil's henchmen are saying. We pray for these people. We pray even for the men in Jerusalem who run the Jewish faith today. We pray for them because they need to change their minds. They need to open their eyes because they will be destroyed by the God that they say they love. He will destroy them because of their ignorance. My people are lost because of a lack of knowledge. God had the New Testament written in Greek. Christ had the New Testament written in Greek. Because in Greek, you can get the pronunciation of his name. I-a-s-u. The last S is silent. I-a-s-u. Which then gives glory to the Father's name. I-yah. Which is on the children. Jerem-iah. Obad-iah. And so at the name of I-yah-su, every tongue will confess. By speaking the name itself, I-yah-su is of I-yah. Because I-yah is in I-yah-su. Enough of this arguing about Hebrew. If Christ wanted his testimony written in Hebrew, it would have been written in Hebrew. It's in Greek. Read the Greek. You get the proper pronunciation. You will be held accountable for this name as soon as the last light of sunlight hits the seventh day of Tabernacles. Because at the rapture, the church age is over, the age of grace is over, and if you are not pronouncing his name properly, you are blaspheming his name, and you will be held accountable. There's a lot more that needs to be done. We need to set up things for those who will be left, because there are tribulation saints, and they will need help. More on that another time. But enough with the Hebrew. The entire New Testament was written in Greek because he wanted us reading it in Greek. He wanted to take out of the hands of the liars and dreamers who hid his father's name, Jerem-iah 23, verse 25 through 27. He wanted to take his name, his pronunciation, out of their control and place it into Greek. And over the course of time, it got placed into English and changed even more. Enough with that. The Greek spelling conveys the Greek and proper pronunciation of the name, as even the Jews themselves knew it when writing the Septuagint. God bless and take care. It is time to start looking up. It could be less than 60 days. This Tabernacles is very close, and there is a lot to be done. I could use your help. There's a PayPal in there somewhere. I could use your help. Thank you very much. God bless and take care.